Animals are more than mere companions in fiction. They can be the beating heart of a story. Whether you're driving the plot forward, adding depth to scenes, or sparking a laugh when things get too serious, animals hold limitless potential for creative writers. In this episode, we'll explore how you can seamlessly weave animals into your stories as plot points, comedic relief, or as vibrant details that bring your worlds to life. Get ready to discover how the living, breathing elements of nature can elevate your writing to captivate your readers. Learn about all this and more on today's episode. Welcome to Writing Rule with Allie, the Fiction Writers Weekly inspiration station for rural life and lifestyles, from historical to post-apocalyptic, helping you bring your rural stories to life. I'm Allie, and this is episode number 103, Paws, Claws, and Story Flaws, Writing Animals with a Purpose. Stick around to the end to find out all the ways things could possibly go wrong in your story. And for a special announcement at the end of this episode, a quick disclaimer. I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion a medical anything. This is not medical advice. It is strictly for the purposes of fiction writing and nothing else. Now, let's get into this. Animals have been part of the human life since caveman times and should not be left out of your stories when and where it makes sense. They can be as intertwined into your story as you wish. Everything from plot points to suspense to settings and distractions during your foreshadowing that lead to amazing plot twists. Let's go over how animals can be used. I'll start with the simple. They can be the main character or all the characters. Charlotte's Web is a great example. The trick is to make the animals both animal-like and human-like at the same time. Not an easy feat, but when done correctly, can be a wonderful story. Another example is Lassie. Although the movie was sad, the book is a well-loved tale that pulls the heartstrings. For me, White Fang was more to my liking. I wanted to see teeth marks on bad guys, but that's just me. And for the suspense lover, Cujo is the book. Rabid dogs will make an impression. Animals can also make great plot points. Nothing shows this off better than the real-life feud between the Hatfields and McCoys here in the U.S. For those outside of the U.S. unfamiliar with the true feud, it occurred between two Appalachian families in the mid to late 1800s. Tensions were already high after the American Civil War, and these families had been on opposing sides. In 1878, Floyd Hatfield stole a hog from the McCoy family. Now, a hog is enough meat to feed a family for most of the winter. So it was a big deal in those times. To make a very long story short, there was a trial where the judge and half of the jurors were Hatfields. The witness changed his story to say that he saw nothing, and Floyd was found not guilty. The witness was soon gifted land by the Hatfields in what looked like a bribe. This kicked off a blood feud, and depending on what version of the story you believe, there were between 12 and 18 people who were killed in the following years. If that stolen pig isn't a plot point, I don't know what is. Now from feuds to battlefields. Let's talk about how animals have been used in battle. Horses, camels, and even elephants have been ridden into battle. We all know about the military dogs of today with all kinds of talents. Historically, dogs were used to carry communications, and in World War I, they even helped find wounded men in no man's land. Pigeons and crows were used to deliver messages as early as 3000 BC, and Vikings used ravens to navigate by releasing them when they were in the ocean and following them to land. Which might explain why many regions that they attacked saw ravens as an omen of death, since they flew in before a Viking attack. We all know dogs have been used for protection and as alarm systems since they were first domesticated, but did you know that other animals are used as alarms and protection? Romans and even the U.S. military used geese as an early alarm system. The Romans also used guinea fowl as an alarm system. I've had both bird types, and I can tell you they will alarm, aka make a ton of noise, if anything different is nearby, which is good and bad. Good if there's an intruder, and bad if a deer walks by in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. Too many false alarms can lead to your character not paying attention when they should. That said, if your character is around the same flock long enough, they will get a sense of the sounds, the rate of speed, and the pitch to tell what they are alarming about. We used to be able to tell if they were upset about the cows in the next pasture, a vehicle, or a chicken hawk. Another thing to remember is that animals can be an alarm system to when something in nature is not right, such as earthquakes, tornadoes, and tsunamis. It has been documented all throughout history to the present day and will definitely keep going after the apocalypse that animals will act differently than they normally do. All of the animals could run away from the area. Horses can be spooked and buck or run in circles in a pen. Cows and buffalo have been known to stampede. I have seen cows lay over a barbed-wired fence fleeing from forest fires. Birds have flown inland when a tsunami is coming. All things that can add tension to your natural disasters. This could be prominent or a background. If everyone and the animals are running for their lives, it sticks out and adds tension. If a cowboy walks into the bunkhouse for dinner, irritated that the horses have been spooking all day, this is more of a background as to why the character is irritated, but that can also double as a duh or a why didn't I see that moment later if there is an earthquake. Other background and setting related ideas are land clearing. Goats have been used to eat the underbrush, and this reduces fire risks. It also makes it easy for settlers to get to the trees to cut them down to make log cabins and things of this nature. If you listen to my episode on pigs, you will know that they have been used to seal and reseal ponds. Of course, there's always a need for food, and they can be used as a source for food, milk, eggs, wool, or down feathers depending on the type of animal. This can be as simple as fresh eggs and milk, or being in the middle of a cattle run. It also gives your character something to buy, barter, and trade for or with. This was done between people groups for all of history. This also gives you a chance to add the senses. Each animal has a distinct smell. Manure has a smell you can't miss, and if it is being spread on a field, you will smell it for days to weeks depending on how long it takes for them to finish and how much they used. Another fun one is a wet dog. Picture me saying that with a disgusted face. Sounds can be useful too. Cows can be heard lowing in the night. I can still remember the first time I heard a donkey in a cow herd at night, and I thought it had gotten loose or something. Nope, they will actually protect the herd of cows or goats from coyotes and wolves. Did you know that roosters start crowing about an hour and sometimes even more before the sun rises? Which is annoying if I want to sleep in. I mean, your character wants to sleep in. Touch is another one that you can toss in. Cow's fur, at least the Jerseys and Anguses around here, have coarse fur. Baby bunnies are super soft. At least once they get their fur in. They're actually born hairless, and it takes a few days to grow the fur. Pigs have hair that is coarse. I know it doesn't look like it if you watch movies like Babe, but trust me, they do. In fact, now and throughout history, it has been used to make boar hair hairbrushes. I know sight is another sense, but a clever character can use sight against the other characters by using animals. It's possible to sneak around places without being seen by moving behind or through cattle. I know because that's how I used to sneak off into the forest. At least until the day they smartened up to me and started looking under the cattle legs. Scaring groups of birds to make a distraction has been used in many cultures for many generations. Trained dogs could also be used to hold attention away from your character. Get creative because I promise you people are. Now, there are the more traditional ways to use animals. Pets have been around for as long as people. Almost anything that you can think of can be a pet, including 1,000-pound bulls. I know because my dad used to have one as a kid. Pigs, cats, and even chickens have been pets. Just remember, chickens poop a lot. People have also kept exotic pets throughout history. Lions, tigers, snakes, bears, zebras, and more have been popular at different times in history. Many people today keep exotic birds. I don't know why. I've never met one that didn't bite me. I have better luck with feral dogs, and that's not a joke. Yeah, I hope your character does better. But that brings me to the next point, comedic relief. Even I have to admit that it's a bit ironic and kind of funny that I can go out and rehabilitate aggressive dogs, but I can't manage a 1-pound bird. I'll take my toothy little fur missile, thank you very much. Then there are these service dogs. This could be a working dog, such as a police canine. It could also be a seeing eye dog. We trained ours with the intent of being a service dog, but she turned out to be mostly blind, so we ended up just having a sweet, well-trained dog. No complaints there. Other types include seizure or blood sugar alert dogs. Dogs can help with PTSD and anxiety or other trauma assistance. these types of service dogs are called psychiatric dogs. There are also autism service dogs, mobility assistance dogs, and even guard dogs. At least here in the US, this can be any breed of dog, but some are more common than others. Make sure that if you plan to use one of these, that you research into the laws of the country or state. Many places have different laws. Another helpful critter is a cat. I know it sounds odd in a rural place, but hear me out. Cats have been used throughout history as a pest control. They naturally hunt mice, rats, snakes, and other unwanted animals. These animals will get into the feed, homes, and other places. Mice and rats can carry diseases, and snakes can be venomous. Snakes also follow their food, the mice, and if the mice get into your home, snakes will follow. Been there, done that, never want to do it again. Snakes will also eat baby birds, including baby chickens. I have lost hundreds of baby chickens to snakes over the years. Animals today, in history, and likely after the apocalypse, will have been used as entertainment. Yes, they do star in movies, but that's not what I mean here. Horse racing is popular. The first historical writing about this that I can find is from Central Asia in about 4500 BC. However, it seems to be well established before it was written about. In fact, even many Amish race their horses, assuming that they're from a sect that allows horse riding. Falconry and hunting dogs have been popular in history and are still practiced in many places around the world today. It technically falls under entertainment, but frankly, it's more of a practical use. Using dogs to go coon hunting, aka hunting raccoons, is common around here. Why? Hunger. People like to eat, and they want to get rid of raccoons. Raccoons will kill chickens and other birds. They will get into the feed and eat large amounts while peeing and pooping all over the rest, making it contaminated. They can be very destructive to barns and other outbuildings. If a dog chases them into water, they will drown the dog. Another thing done in history was bullfighting that ended in the death of either the bull or the person. This was a practice used in Rome to entertain people in the Colosseum, and it was one of the many horrific things there. Others included feeding men, women, and children to starving lions and hyenas. Many people assume that this is where the concept of the zoo began. If that's true, it's a really good thing that we've come a long way since then. Many cultures throughout time have held spiritual or cultural relevance for many animals. Egyptians believed that cats would bring good luck. Vikings believed that cats were related to one of their gods and believed that they would bring love and fertility. Incas revered the condor, the puma, and serpent. Buffaloes were sacred to many Native American tribes. Side note, I find it fascinating that the Native Americans had legends of the thunderbird, South Africans have legends of the lightning bird, and China has legends of a firebird, more commonly called the phoenix. All around the world, there's this bird, storm, or fire theme. Lastly, animals have been used to make medication since the dawn of man. I still remember learning that pig and cat guts were used to make stitches for wounds. If you heard my episode on honey, you will know that it has been used for antibacterial and antifungal purposes since ancient Egypt. Ground-up mummies were used in medieval Europe as a heal-all. We all know about the leeches for bloodletting that were used all the way through the 1800s. If you listen to my episode on rabies, you'll know that in America, it was once believed that deer gallstones could cure rabies by placing it on the rabies bite and leaving it to draw the disease out. Okay, I know deer don't have gallbladders, but that's what we call it around here. They're also sometimes referred to as mad stones because the end stages of rabies is considered going mad. But most people call them benzoir stones, which is actually something I learned online and didn't know that. And I don't think America is the only place where odd things were done. In ancient Egypt, they used to believe that placing dead mice on toothaches would help. I've read that doctors going into South America are advised that they have many folklore remedies. Some examples were to place vulture brains on gouter, placing cow poop on the eye to cure blurred vision, and to cure scorpion stings, tie the scorpion that stung you onto the wound. I still think that the mummy powder was worse and technically would make your character a cannibal. Ugh. One quick reminder before we get into all the ways things could possibly go wrong in your story. To help others find this content, pop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. Or if you're watching on YouTube, drop me a comment and say hello or ask a question. This is the best way to help other people find my content. And now for everyone's favorite part, what could possibly go wrong in your story? Unlikely to go wrong. Your character gets chickens for the first time. The next morning they are woke up before dawn to the rooster crowing. Also likely to go wrong. Your character is a horse racer. One day the horse throws them and they break their leg. They have no idea how they will continue to make money when they can't ride a horse. Possible to go wrong. Your character is trying to sneak around using a herd of cattle as a visual shield. However, there are not enough cattle, and others can see their legs and feet under the cattle. Also possible to go wrong. Your character is in a new land and is hungry. They kill an animal to eat, not realizing that the animal is sacred to the locals. Unlikely to go wrong. The enemies of your character decide to attack at night. They use the sound of cattle to mask their movements until it is too late. Also unlikely to go wrong. Your character sends vital information with a carrier pigeon. However, as it flies off, the enemy shoots the pigeon, and the message is never received. Improbable, but still technically in their own possibility. Your character has a service dog that they take to a wedding. The dog is fully trained, but was not fed that morning in all of the rush. When the wedding cake is brought out, the dog can't resist the lure of the yummy cake. Also improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. Your character had a dog that dies, keeping them safe from a booby trap. Now, your character wants revenge. Now for the announcement that you have all been waiting for. Writing Rule with Allie has a book coming out. It is a compilation of this podcast in book form. It's called The Writer's Guide to Rural Life, complete with probability index. The plan is for it to be out on April 2nd. However, I am running into a few behind-the-scenes hiccups that could cause it to be a little bit later. But either way, it should be out by the end of April. I'm so excited! Book published! Thanks for listening. Until next time, happy wordsmithing!